exercise and movement, we know that it's all important, but have you ever heard yourself saying these things? I don't have time to exercise, I need some kind of special equipment, or I don't have a gym membership, or I need to wait until I'm fit, or I'm stronger until I can do that certain thing. Now, I hear you. I've said these things before. But, if we're being really honest about it, and I am certainly someone who's honest on a regular basis in life, is that those are really, and I say this with love, these are excuses. Okay, if there's something that we want to make happen, we'll find a way to do it. Now, I am a big proponent of my local CrossFit facility, CrossFit Edmonton, which is my hometown here, St. Albert. Love the coaching. I love the community. I love the aspect of working with other people, the accountability as well then too. But look, what if you don't live locally? What if you don't have a CrossFit facility? What if you're out in some kind of remote place, but yet still want to learn how to get strong? Now, by all means, we talk about this in the Primal Movement section too of our Primal 4 program, that you got to lift weights to get strong, but lifting weights starts with your body weight, okay? So you got to start somewhere with that. So I'm going to give you then some ways today, 5 very simple core movements that you can do at home to actually help yourself get stronger. There are tons of variations you can do of this. The sky's the limit. But I'm going to show you today exactly what these movements are like, modifications of each one, and then you no longer have any excuses to not get this done, because you can do this in your own home, you can do this outside if you want to. So we're going to go through these then shortly, and again, you're going to see modifications of each of them, so it doesn't matter where you're starting, it doesn't matter if you've never set foot in a gym or done these movements before. I'm going to give you a place to start with each of them, and I'll show you a little story then too. So I'll kind of use this analogy because I think it's good for maybe that conversation you've had with yourself about, I'm going to start working out when, or Monday, or when this happens, when the kids are out of school and when holidays are over, or whatever else you might have told yourself. So my good friend Sarah actually asked me to create a video blog like this. So thank you, Sarah. I appreciate the recommendation and the suggestion. But my thing was kind of like, oh crap, I gotta show movements. That's more editing. I gotta change lighting. We're here in my basement. I kind of have it set up a certain way, and it's easy for me to come in and video blog each week. But I just went, you know what? Sorry if this offends you, but screw it. I'm just going to get it done. I don't care if it's pretty. A great podcast I listened to, which is called The School of Greatness. I heard Lewis Howes say this recently, and it's this. So good and done is better than perfect and not done. And so that was my thought in my head as I was like, I'm going to just do this. I don't care if it looks great or not. My head might be out, my body in certain parts of the shot, so I'm showing the movements. So be it. You'll get the gist of it. So I want you to remember that analogy. Good and not done is good. Oh, crap. Good and done is better than perfect and not done. So see yourself maybe as that good, work in progress, so you can get started with these movements. So I will see you in a second, and we will go through them together. All right, welcome back. So I'm going to go through these 5 core movements, and welcome to the other side of my basement, by the way. You usually see the flip side with the fireplace. But I'm going to go through these 5 core movements and show you the modifications kind of from beginner, if you will, all the way up to where you want to really work towards. Okay, so the first movement we're going to start with is a squat. Basic movement, phenomenal movement. It is something we should all know how to do, is to squat. So there's 3 modifications to that. Now the first one, you're going to have to use your imagination. Pretend I have a chair behind me, all right? So for that first one, for any of the time that we do squats, you have your feet shoulder width apart. You want to keep that core engaged. As you're squatting down, you want to think about pushing your knees outward, all right? So the first would be the chair squat. So you essentially will have a chair, a bench right behind you. I usually like to put my arms out in front, and you put your hands on your hips if you want for balance, but I'll put my arms out in front, and you're just kind of starting with butt first, just pop down, and butt touches the chair. Okay, so it'll probably be like about there. The next modification is going to be going halfway or to parallel. So same thing, cues. You've got your feet shoulder width apart, core nice and tight, arms in front for balance. Think of pushing those knees outwards as you squat, and you want to come down to parallel, okay, and then back up. As you come up as well, then too, out of that squat each time, you want to come all the way up to that full extension. Okay, whenever you're doing a squat, in any movements, you don't want to cheat that movement. You don't want to just kind of do this, okay, but you want to come up and extend at the very top. And then the last modification is actually all the way down, so butt to the floor. So same thing, we've got feet shoulder width apart, core nice and tight. You're looking forward as well too, which I didn't mention before when you're squatting. Arms out in front, and you're gonna, again, visualize and think of pushing your knees outwards as you squat, and you're gonna squat all the way down, and then right back up. Okay, and again, that full extension at the top of the movement. So those are your 3 modifications. The next one we'll move into then is a lunge. So with a lunge, really easy to put your hands on your hips. I would kind of do that for balance. You want to think about bringing that first foot, so we'll do right foot forward, and you're essentially just going to dip down. Okay, so you're going to touch that left leg down to the bottom. You want to think of, you can see with my knees forward a little bit, so you want to bring it so that knee is about at that 90-degree angle, and you're not kind of tracking over your ankle and put that extra pressure. So let's kind of see what it looks like. So we'll do left foot, okay? So touching that knee down to the floor, and then back up. Right foot out, left knee down to the floor, and then back up again. Now you can either do it back and forth, or you can kind of lunge around the house if you want to then too. Okay, next movement is going to be your push-up. So modifications that we saw with the lunge, there's not really any modifications. You could essentially maybe not have your knee all the way to the ground, but I'd rather you do less of them and do it as that full movement for that lunge. Push-up though, you have other options. So your first is going to be push-up off a wall. So use same thing, same cues we saw with squat. We've got your feet or shoulder width apart. You're going to have your hands kind of right out in front of you. Have your hand basically kind of at that shoulder height, keeping your core, stomach, abs nice and tight. And you're going to essentially then lean in towards that wall and then push back out. You may have to, I was in a little bit too close. You may have to come out a little bit, so you're going to lean back in and then all the way back out. Now, when you're doing this as well, then too, you don't want to have it where you kind of flop down. Okay, so you want to keep that really tight, that movement, as you're going through. Okay, so that would be kind of the first place to start. The next place is going to be push-up from knees. So I'm going to get down the floor here to show you. So with this particular movement, as it sounds, you're going to be pushing up from your knees. So you're going to have then your hands are onto the ground. You've got your hands are right underneath your shoulder. You want to keep your shoulders kind of nice and locked, so not loose with those elbows bent, but kind of nice and locked and tight. So on your knees, you can either have your feet down, but I find it's just a little easier to kind of just put my feet up in there, whatever is easiest for you. And just like we saw on the wall, you want to actually bring your chest all the way into, in this situation, obviously, into the ground. So you're going to keep that core tight, so you're dropping down to the ground, and then pushing right back up. Okay, not doing this. Okay, this is not a push-up. Okay, that's half of the movement. You want to bring chest all the way to ground and right back up. In addition, when you get down to the ground, don't kind of let your body go. Okay, so you want to keep your body tight all the way through the movement. So that's from knees, and then our last position is actually going to be then from toes. Same cue, so hands directly on your shoulder, keep that core tight, okay, and not letting this kind of flop down, and you're going to then drop down, so chest all the way to ground, and then right back up again, okay? So those are 3 movements then for push-up. The next thing we're going to show is plank. I'm going to stay here on the floor because you're going to be back on the floor again. So this is essentially holding your body in that plank position for a particular period of time. So 2 positions you can do it from, just like with push-ups. You're going to have knees. And with this, you're basically holding it at the top of that push-up position. Same cues. You've got your hands under your shoulder, keeping that core nice and tight. You don't want to be kind of sagging inwards here. So keeping nice and tight. And you're simply holding here. Okay, so that weight is onto shoulders, that core is tight, and you're holding. The other position you could then take a look at would be going from toes. So same thing, we've got hands under shoulders, core nice and tight, and you're simply holding. It's like at the top of that push-up movement. Now, when you do plank particularly, don't be surprised if you start to kind of shake. Okay, very normal because it's really, really ab intensive. You might see me do it now and go, oh, that's no big deal. But then as you start to kind of hold that, you'll see it's actually a really amazing primary movement for us to build that core strength. And then lastly, is going to be sit-up. Now, I know some of you might be familiar with those little teeny little sit-ups. Okay, we're going to do an actual full sit-up. So there's a couple ways that you can do this. You can either, because you want your feet to stay flat on the ground, and actually I'm going to just show you first what the movement looks like. So you're coming all the way down, so shoulders down to ground, and then you're coming back up. Okay, back up and touch to feet. That's an actual full sit-up. To keep your feet down, if then you're working on core strength and find that difficult, If you've got a dumbbell at home, you can kind of put your feet underneath. You can have somebody hold your feet. You can put your feet kind of tuck them underneath like the couch, underneath the chair until you start to build that. I like to, as I do sit-ups, kind of have my arms over my head, which creates a little bit more difficulty, but it actually gives me momentum going forward. So it kind of looks like this, arms all the way back. So shoulders touch the ground, and then all the way back up again, okay? So those are your 5 movements. I'll be back in a moment, and I'll talk about putting those together in a workout. All right, so I hope that was helpful. You can feel free to, go back to this video to kind of take a look at the movements and to see that you're doing correctly or wondering what's the modification for that push-up again. So feel free to use this as a reference guide. I'll tell you too, I'll give you just a couple tips then with this. Now you can change this up huge, right? So you can vary the intensity of how you do the movements. You can vary the duration. You can vary the number of repetitions or just the number that you do of each movement. But here's one key point I want you to get. The movements must be with integrity. Do not cheat it. Okay, so when you just saw the push-up, you can do a little push-up and not chest to ground and this little kind of almost like a little pulse movement, but that's not a push-up. You will not get stronger, you will not get faster, you will not get fitter if you don't actually do that movement with integrity. So you're better off either doing the modification that you're able to do at, or if you can do that full movement, do less repetitions, but I would rather you're able to do more of them, somewhat easily, if you would say, at first, and then you can start to kind of work your way up to those different modifications. I'm actually going on holidays for about a week or so, and I won't see you for about 2 weeks, but I'll tell you, I'm going to actually put on this then a couple different workout ideas. So a few different ideas of how you can actually do the workouts to just make this really fun. But again, honestly, as I said before, the sky's the limit. You can vary this so much that you could do just, honestly, this alone. Again, lifting weights is important, but if you don't have access to that, or it's so crazy with the kids and work and everything else, you can do this at your home when the kids are sleeping at night or before they wake up. You could go to the park and do this when the kids are actually playing in the playground. So I don't want you to any longer rely on those excuses to stop yourself from really living your absolute best life. So I would love to get your feedback. I want to know if this is valuable for you. Do you want to see more how-to videos like this? They're a little bit longer, but maybe these are ones that could really give you some more motivation or inspiration or some more, just how to do certain things. I would love to hear from you. So go ahead and either post on our Facebook page, you can send me a tweet, you can comment on the blog. So if you're reading this off the blog website, then it's just below that, or you can actually send me an email. I'm happy to receive feedback from all that, and I really do value that. I sincerely do. We'd love to hear from you and let you know how we can serve you better and make this experience better. So you have an awesome day. I look forward to hearing from you, letting me know how it's going with that exercise and how that's changing. Remember, no more excuses. And I will talk to you in 2 weeks. Have an awesome day.